Tyson Fury still insists he's retired. Still believe that the case?
I think if Usyk was to beat Joshua, I think he'll stay retired. Because I don't think he wants to fight Usyk. But I think if AJ wins, and I truly believe he will win, you will see the biggest fight in the history of boxing.
What's good, family? Off the rip once again. Big love to your man the YB, #1 sugar mama in the game right now, Lizzie Corinne, for coming through and boosting up that coin, no doubt. So we got some breaking news right now regarding your man's Eddie Eddie, the CEO of Down Bad Room Promotions, Hearn. Yeah, he say Tyson Fury shook. Now let's not forget, people, this clip you played at the start of this video, that don't really let you into the whole saga that's been going on regarding Hearn and Fury and Usyk. Yeah, this clip here, he says, oh, if AJ doesn't beat Usyk, Fury will stay retired. He don't want that fight. Yeah, but that's not all he's said. Over the last few months, Eddie Hearn's been putting out the vibe. In fact, let's not forget, people, back in February, before the Dillian White fight was signed against Fury, Tyson Fury was supposed to step in front of AJ and mollywop Usyk for him. Yeah, don't forget that. It was only when Mr. Johnston and Bumillion Shite got greedy. Johnston wanted like 15 mil and Bumillion wanted 5 mil, at which point Fury said no. Yeah, why am I going to pay these two? Why am I going to pay one pumped up weightlifter and one bulbous other nipples money when I can knock the guy out, when I can knock out Mr. Nipples, Mr. Boobies, Bumillion Shite in one shot, and Mr. Johnson, the weightlifter, he can get it as well. I ain't paying no one, forget it. And ever since then, obviously, Hearn's been bitter. And when Hearn's bitter, what he does, like most people, they flip the script. Rather than coming out, or rather than Eddie Hearn sitting down with his shrink and talking through his problems, he comes out and spins narratives. Oh, the fact that Tyson Fury refused to fight Usyk, or sorry, better yet, refused to pay us $20 million. I mean, it don't even make sense. Tyson Fury was supposed to pay you, man, $20 million to handle your man's problem. Usyk is Anthony Johnson's problem. It's not Tyson Fury's problem. Usyk is food to Tyson Fury, in my opinion. Food. Yeah? Let's not forget, people, like I've been saying, AJ makes pretty mid-level fighters look the business. Yeah, Dillian White looked the business against AJ, gave him all he could handle. Andy Ruiz looked the business against AJ, gave him all he could handle. Vladimir Klitschko gave him the business. Yeah? All he could handle. And we've got plenty of examples. The Dillian White fight, the Klitschko fight. Fury ain't have no problem with them bums. They got wiped. Yeah, and I'm telling you, from what I've seen, the Fury fight versus Usyk will be another example of AJ going out super sad. I mean, we've just seen Canelo struggle with a man who's 7 pounds bigger. Tyson Fury's going to be 40 pounds bigger than Usyk. And that's just the bottom line for me. Never mind, we can go. I think Fury's better than Usyk anyway, to be honest. I don't know, something about Usyk, I don't rate him. That's me personally. But like I was saying, back to the point. Eddie Hearn come out talking about, oh, Fury's scared. Fury don't want, if we don't beat Usyk, then Fury won't want Usyk. Listen, if you don't beat Usyk, you're finished. And that's the thing with Eddie Hearn again, trying to spin narratives. If we don't beat Usyk, number one, in theory, you shouldn't be worrying about not beating Usyk. That's why I've always wondered about this Eddie Hearn guy, or AJ and his team. Why they're always focused on the wrong things. You're focused on what Tyson Fury does or doesn't want. Tyson Fury's at the peak of his career. You need to focus on catching a dub. You need to focus on not having to have a rematch every 2 minutes. That's what you want to focus on. Even if Tyson Fury was scared, that shouldn't be your focus right now. Your focus should be handling your business, yeah? Handling your middleweight problems. About Tyson Fury don't want this, Tyson Fury don't want that. We shouldn't be talking about this. Don't forget, people, it's Team AJ and Eddie Hearn, which put us in this predicament in the first place. If they'd have handled their business, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and the fans would be getting what they want, which would have been a heavyweight showdown between Mr. Johnston and Tyson Fury. Instead, it's a year since Mr. Johnson had his wig pushed back, and we're still talking about Tyson Fury don't want it. I mean, imagine that. Let's do some role reversals here, yeah? Imagine for a second Tyson Fury got beat by someone, yeah? And then Tyson Fury was begging AJ, oh AJ, pay me, step aside, and you can fight the person I can't beat for me. And if you don't do that, that shows you're scared. It's all back to, it's honestly, it's a mad narrative. AJ, Team AJ, you got beat by Usyk. That's just the start and the end of it, yeah? I'm baffled how we're even where we are today. And the media, I'm not even sure what, I think it was IFL TV, but no one checks him on it. And even to be honest, IFL TV, they're pretty close with Fury, but still, no one checks Eddie Hearn on it. Yeah? Eddie, when is Mr. Johnston going to win this fight? That's what you want to hear. Now, Eddie Hearn came through a few weeks ago and said, oh, AJ can knock out in the 6th round, but every time he says things like that you don't believe, you'll hear something a week later like this. Oh, well, when we lose to Usyk, Fury won't want to fight him. Yeah? And listen, let me tell you now, if Fury doesn't want to fight Usyk, which for me will be a bad move, you know my opinion, Fury needs to fill Usyk in. But if he doesn't, it'll be AJ's fault, because I get it to some extent. I 10% understand why Fury wouldn't want the Mr. Middleweight fight. I mean, it's dead, isn't it? To some extent, it's even smaller than the Bumillion Shite fight. At least Bumillion Shite had some clout to go with him. Yes, Usyk has some clout, but it's not nipple-tingling clout, is it? Fury versus Usyk isn't a fight that we've been salivating for the last 5, 10. I mean, not being funny. AJ versus Usyk. I mean, AJ versus Fury is a fight now. The best part of 10 years, literally. Yeah, AJ fought his first world title in March 2016. That's 6 years ago, and it was their beef was going before that. I'm pretty sure Fury was on the BBC interview radio back in 2011. That's when he talked about the sparring, even though they weren't beefing back then, but still, there's been a whole history of it. 11 years ago, and here we are. AJ can't, I mean, all you have to do, yeah, to have the Fury fight is string a group of wins together. And I'm sorry, people can say, oh, but YB, Fury ain't fighting no one. I don't look at AJ's. I've always said that AJ's resume was, before he started losing every fight, AJ's resume was the best around. But you'll never hear me say it holds up. You never hear me say it stands the test of time. Truth, from what we know now. Obviously, back in the day, I said, if AJ goes on to knock everyone out, knock Wilder out, knock Fury out, then yeah, we can talk about all-time greatness. But his resume now, I mean, he should have beat Ruiz anyway. Let's get that straight. He should have knocked Ruiz out, in my opinion. He should have knocked Usyk out, in my opinion. Yeah? These are just bottom lines. Eddie Hearn likes to spin it all up. Oh, well, these are top guys. These are top guys for 2022. Yeah, they're not top guys in terms of, I mean, where would you put Usyk all time? Oops. Yeah? Where would you put Ruiz all time? Oops. I mean, at least if Fury lost to Wilder, which he didn't, he filled him in. But if he did, at least he's losing to someone who's probably got top 10 power all time, which is obviously a very sorted for trait. If you can have any trait in the heavyweight division, being top 10 all time power ain't a bad one to have. But anyway, man, listen. Like I said, Eddie Hearn, he projecting all of his inner feelings about Usyk onto Fury. Oh, Fury, you don't want this fight. Oh, he won't want that fight. Oh, he shook at that fight. Oh, if we don't beat Usyk, he won't want it. Eddie, all them statements only apply to you and Mr. AJ. It's you and Mr. AJ who have taken a year to organise this rematch. Yeah? It's you and Mr. AJ who lost the fight in the first place and nearly got knocked out in a fight that you was like a 4-1 favourite on. Yeah? It's you who tried to pay Fury, or it's you who tried to get Fury to handle your work for you in a step aside. Honestly, it's baffling. Just imagine it for a second. Fury loses, yeah, and then ends up somehow asking Fury. I mean, and then the way they spun it was, oh, if you want undisputed. And that's how I knew AJ was finished. It was at that point I was completely off the AJ bandwagon. Because any man who has any oomph about him, how are you sitting here saying, handle my work for me? You should want to eat that work. I don't know what it is about these new school fighters, man. They haven't got that. And I'm not saying I've got it either, yeah? But I'm saying, looking at the sport, these new guys don't have that. They don't have that get back about them. Yesterday, we saw Daniel Dubois, yeah? Everyone's gassing up Shane McGuigan. Yeah, we want Dillian White. I mean, who don't want Dillian White? He's useless. Why don't you want that get back with Joe Joyce? Team Dubois are talking like, literally, Team Dubois. Joe Joyce is Voldemort to Team Dubois. I haven't heard a smidgen of his name in the last year, and he's been knocking loads of bums out about Dillian White. Dubois will knock Dillian White out, in my opinion. White's useless. So I get why you want him, but come on, where's the pride? If you're that improved about you want world oh yeah, we're mandatory now. If you're that improved, go get your get back. Oops, yeah. Same as AJ. And yeah, AJ's taken the fight for millions of dollars in Saudi. I don't mean nothing. It's taken him a year, and he tried to get. I mean, let's be real now. It's taken him a year. It's still not signed, and in the meantime, he tried to get Fury to handle his work for him. I mean, outside of literally retiring, what more could have AJ have done to make it clear he's shook to death of Usyk? What more could he have done? Go on. What actions could he have taken that would have implied, you know what, I think AJ's a bit half shook here? He pulled all of the hoe cards out. Team AJ have pulled all the hoe cards out. Yeah? You're a hoe for trying to get Fury to handle your work for you. You're a hoe for taking a year to get it on. And you're a hoe just because you're big and useless. How about that? Big useless student presser. You got a lot to say with students, nothing to say with your ops when they're popping you in the mouth. That's what it is. Yeah? Oh, YB, AJ coming for you. AJ can't even come for the people he's supposed to be fighting. He ain't going to do nothing with the YB. That's what he ain't going to do. Yeah? I'll slap him right on his head. Big muscly bulbous head. What's he going to do? He's friendly. Yeah? Big friendly looking ass. From Watford. Oh, big Watford hard man. But anyway, listen. Fury, Usyk's food. Eddie, stop capping, man. Yeah? You know that. And the worst thing is, if Eddie Hearn was to sign Fury, you best believe all them narratives he's been spinning, you wouldn't hear nothing about it. You'd hear, Usyk's too small. This, that, the other. And it's going to be interesting, and I hope, if Fury ever hears this, Fury needs to take the Usyk fight and knock Usyk out, in my opinion. Or at least try, yeah? And it will be intriguing to see what Eddie Hearn says in his prediction of the fight. And to be honest, scrap the prediction. You know me. I like to gamble, yeah? All these guys who have all these opinions, yeah, these strong opinions, put your coin up, Eddie. We want to see 100 bags on Usyk. That's what we want to see. If Fury fights Usyk, we want to see you with 100 bags up. Because you know so much about how shook Fury is. Yeah? You're shook. And like I said, what you need to do is sit down with your shrink and work through your issues. Stop woofing on in your goofy ass interviews. 100%.